Happy Sunday, happy Sunday, happy Sunday. We are live. Another not so victory Sunday. Trojans fall to the Huskies by 4 last night. We got our man USC Jay with us. Man should be joining us shortly. Uh yeah, I mean, it's another one of those Sundays where we're not feeling good. We spoke about it a little bit on your show last night, Jay. Just go ahead, give me your thoughts before we roll into this thing.
Man, my thoughts is wow, like we really are here again, and we said it so many times. Definition of insanity is continue to do the same thing over and over again, and now we see it for not only the Minnesota game, not only the Penn State game, multiple games. Now we see the same situation, and everything starts from the top. We just got to call it like it is. It all starts from the top, and to put the blame on anything else, I think is ludicrous. So it starts from the top, and then you trickle that down with the personnel that the top allows to have it, and if they don't execute, you gotta secondly put it on them. And so I think that's where we at right now. So I know we probably gonna get into this and get into it heavy, but man, it's disturbing because when you look at this as a whole, as we open this up, you're talking about so many things could trickle down from this, whether it's the recruiting, whether it's the current guys that we have on the roster. You now got to wonder because at the end of the day, winning cures everything. And when you don't win, man, everybody starts flipping. Everybody starts changing. You know what
Say
I
that
mean?
one
Even
more
coaches.
time. Say that one more time for the church, Jay. Say that one more time for the church.
I think when you start losing and you don't win, everybody starts questioning themselves. Everybody start, even the coaching staff. I want you guys to really think and consider something. Matt Inch was at a Division One AA school, but he was winning, right? Coach Deanton Lynn had a winning type of attitude and winning success. All of these coaches, Eric Henderson, he was winning. All of these coaches were winning, and to come over here now and to really essentially have this whole situation flip on us, the offense was extremely strong last year, and now to have the defense the stronger. It's crazy. I mean, and the ironic thing about it is Lincoln Riley's strength is the offense. I hear somebody say Lincoln Riley, he needs to get an offensive coordinator. Well, I don't. The Lincoln Riley I've always known was the Lincoln Riley that knows how to call plays. What good is it to even have Lincoln Riley if he can't call plays the way we know him as calling plays for Oklahoma? We know him to be a successful guy, call plays in Oklahoma, had Oklahoma offenses in the 40s, even had USC's offense in the 40s. But to have this now, it's unbelievable, man. It's unfortunate. I know we're gonna get into this, man. I know that was a kind of a mouthful at the beginning, but let's talk about it.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, guys. I'll be Jay. Good to see you. I'll
Hey, how
be
you doing, Jamal?
doing okay, man. Hey, listen, considering the circumstances, doing okay, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
You jump right into it, man. Give me your thoughts from last night.
Yeah, guys. I mean, look. I mean, what is there to say, really? I mean, it's the same old script. I mean, and Coach, you and I had the pregame show. We talked at length about this game. We broke it down. I mean, it's the same story. I mean, the five things I take away from this game are the five things I've taken away from the previous four losses. 230-pound back coach Jonah Coleman goes crazy, 23 carries, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was all Coleman early in the game, and it was all Coleman late in the game. A defensive front that sort of wilted again in the fourth quarter, got aided by that illegal substitution by Washington. Otherwise, they would have salted the game away there at the end. Miller, love him, but honestly, the way his decision making, in critical moments in this game is just extremely challenging. And again, 3 interceptions, and what was really critical was sort of the 2 interceptions that you look at and you say that early in the game to sort of set the tone, get out a lead, get early, short field, bad decision there. The one at the end of the half was obviously, considering the circumstances, not really an issue. And then obviously the one late, that where SC takes the lead again, has control of this game, and that interception opens the door for Washington to win this game. Lincoln Riley, yet again, coach, where is the thought process? Where is the balance? relative to, key games. 29 passes, 9 rushes in the first half, 50 passes, 29 rushes overall in the game. Every time it's a difficult situation for him. He abandons the running game. The mismanagement continues, and then of course it's a culture of excuses. It's a culture of what could have been, and you're looking at a very disconnected team. And then obviously in the fourth quarter, when it's time to win, when it's time to really put things together, you see those final 2 drives in the fourth quarter. First and goal from the 4, and then first and 10 at the 20. Both opportunities. Again, that second opportunity should have never happened. Washington gift wrapped SC that second possession. First and goal in the 4, you need physicality. You don't get it. First and 10 from the 20, with the end of the game, you need precision. You don't have it. This team doesn't have physicality. They don't have precision. And again, from a defensive perspective, against a patchwork Washington offensive line, no sacks, only 2 tackles for loss from the interior. And now you move forward here at 4-5, needing to win 2 of your last 3 just to make a bowl game. Then you got to win out just to equal the win total from last year. So we, at this point, I'm sure we'll get into it. But if you're Lincoln Riley, you're gonna have to explore Maeva. And Coach, I said the moment to do it would be now. You got the bye. You got 2 weeks to put a package together for Nebraska. You don't leave the city of Los Angeles now the rest of the year. And not saying that Maeva is going to come in and become the savior, but you got to know what you have in Maeva to set up the best possible success for you in 2025. Because if you're just going to sit Maeva the rest of the way, why would he sort of stay at USC? I mean, if he's just going to be the QB2 without getting a look on a fringe bowl team, you got to wonder where his head is going into next year. It kind of reminds me of that Alabama situation a couple of years ago between Jalen Hurts and Tua. Everyone forgets, if Tua doesn't come into that game, that national championship game against Georgia in the second half, and wins it, in that dramatic fashion in overtime with Devonta Smith, Tua was going to transfer because he was like, I can't keep sitting behind Hurts. I think that's going to be a similar situation here. So lots to unpack, but that's kind of my instant reaction.
So my real quick, Jay, let me give my reaction. So my reaction is this, and I'm gonna take a combination of both of y'all theories and put them together. And here's my reaction to it. This guy's getting paid $100 million. $100 million is one of the top contracts in college football. His buyout is rumored between 90 and 70 million. We'll just put 90 to 70 million in there. We're held hostage by this guy for at least the next 2 to 3 years. We're at a point now to where this team now has regressed going forward. They have gotten worse each year during Lincoln Riley's tenure. Also, at what point in time do you say to yourself as a coach, saying, and all 3 of us have been Miller Moss fans, but at what point in time do you say to yourself, like, we have to do something to shake this up? Prime example, Steve Sarkisian did it 2 weeks ago against Georgia. Duke did it, and now they have a good quarterback. Kirby Smart did it Nick Saban did it in the national championship. Lincoln Riley did it in the Red River rivalry, and that's how we heard about Caleb Williams. At this point, he is to the point where he's like, I don't care, and it's so stubborn, and it's affecting the rest of the team. Perfect example, and you said this last night, Jay. Perfect example is Deuce Robinson, when he was overthrown for the touchdown. Normally, he runs back to the huddle. His whole look and his whole facial expression is completely different, right? Completely upset. He's losing the locker room again. His win total is less than it was before. He's making $10 million that we know of. We don't know about the other money with advertisements and those types of things that are truly happening. So that's also happening. And we're at a point now where we have not gotten any better. What are we going to do? Like, where do we go from here? Because at this point, we can't say it's the players. And I also have another issue. We'll address that also. And we talked about this, man. And we got Jay here. I want to see what Jay thinks about it. But depth is also an issue on the defensive side. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
What are we going to do? What do we have to do to make this better? He's not doing anything, and it's starting to get frustrating because, like, it's legit. Like, man, these kids are playing their lives out, and these kids are so frustrated now. Like, you can tell it's from the top up. How do we make this better? Last night was despicable. from a coaching standpoint, and it's just awful. And I don't even know how I could keep looking at it. Jay, what were you going to say?
I wanted to, and I agree with some of the things you were saying, Coach. And I want to piggyback on what Jamal was saying about exploring Jaden Alba. And I kind of noticed it, early on against Michigan. Just the inability to be mobile, causing these defensive ends. And then, of course, we seen it doing Minnesota. We saw it doing Penn State. We saw it a couple of games. But my thing is, if I'm Jaden Alba now, and I'm telling you guys now, I'm hearing some things within the locker room. I heard some things after the game, as the parents meet and with the players. I'm hearing things that players are really frustrated, saying this is the same old crap. That was kind of a statement that was given to me this morning. Those are guys that are from the offense. I'm gonna leave it right there with that. But at some point, you got to ask yourself if you're Jaden Alba, because we see the same thing. We said it before. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again. If we see the same thing with the same player, and I don't. Let this be clear. I'm not bashing the player, but these are critical mistakes coming in at critical times, and it's coming from the same player. And it's like, if I get in my album, I don't want to. Don't even put me in at this point because you're not gonna waste a whole year of mine. I haven't played 4 games. Why should I waste a whole year when you had the opportunity to even just work me in as possibly as some packages to help offset to help Miller Moss out. Where he lacks at. We already know that he's not that mobile, and we know that he gets the ball down the field sometime. But now the situation has got so bad that it's not just about his mobility anymore. Now it's about his decision making. It's about the accuracy. It's about the overthrown balls. And now we're seeing players' body language change, where we didn't see that before. And that's the body language tells a lot of things. And we not only do we see Deuce Robinson's body language, but now we see Miller Moss body language after the Woody Marks handoff. And to me, the fourth down, why hand it off to Woody Marks? Why not put Jaden Alba in there? We saw how fast Jaden Alba looked on the RPO last week, and how explosive he looked, and that was more like a 10, 15-yard run. So everything starts from the top, and I said it before. There's a root to a problem, and there is a surface. The surface was last year was just Alex Grinch, but the root of the problem was Lincoln Riley, and we seeing Alex Grinch is gone. So we're seeing the same thing now, and it has to be addressed.
Yeah, you got anything on that, man?
Yeah, no, I mean, Jay, it's a great point, right? I mean, this is the heart of the issue here. When you sort of break down Lincoln Riley, Miller Moss, and we've been so pro Miller Moss in terms of our assessment in a very fair way, and I think we will continue to be. The challenge, of course, is when you look at the Miller Moss from LSU to up until the Miller Moss of last night, he has regressed, and he's regressed from a consistency standpoint. Jay, to your point, there's still dimes that he throws every game. I mean, that ball to Lemon on 4th and 9 was a beautiful throw, NFL type of throw. But then, the very next play, you're going to see overthrows, underthrows. So he's lost sort of the down over down consistency when it comes to accuracy, when it comes to mechanics, when it comes to sort of staying on platform and so forth. And then when you overlay that on just making the interceptions at the most critical moments, I mean, game-changing interceptions, whether they're game-sealing, game-altering, and you go back and you take a team off the mat and give them momentum, and ultimately that life springs them to victory. And you see that now over the course of 4 or 5 games. It is hard to sort of continue to justify that he, at this particular point in time, is the immediate right solution. Because, look, even from a Miller Moss perspective, sometimes you need to be able to see the game from the sideline. You almost need to sort of step back and see the game to understand your mistakes for your own development. And then here is where the issue comes with Lincoln Riley. When you have a quarterback that is struggling a little bit with consistency, when you have a quarterback that maybe is struggling a little bit with confidence with key decisions down the stretch, why are you throwing the ball 50 times? Why?
It doesn't make any sense. It's
it
crazy.
Doesn't make any sense. Obviously Miller is struggling, but my wife has a statement, and I'll quote my wife here. She says, at work, They're not setting me up for success. Okay. And Lincoln Riley is not setting Miller Moss up for success. And to your point, Jay, on that 4th down at the 1 yard line, I agree with you. The alternative, I would say, is even if you're going to stick with Miller Moss, line up under center, sneak him, do a push, or go wildcat with Woody and have an extra blocker there anyway. If you just want to get the ball to Woody, why are you doing an RPO? Why are you doing a zone read RPO with a quarterback that isn't mobile? It was a terrible play call. Everyone just
crazy.
marks because they knew it's not necessarily his skill set. That's more on Lincoln than it is on Miller. So that is really the concern that I have. And Max Brown said something interesting on Twitter last night. He said, look, Maeva's also going to be a little bit of a project. He's going to be raw. He came from that go-go UNLV offense. It was very simple, a lot of man, a lot of one-read type of throws. But if you're Lincoln right now, you have to sort of put him in there just to see what you have. And if you truly are the quarterback whisperer, you can develop him over time. But you need to be able to see what you have going into a 2025 competition. Coach, the thought at this particular stage of Miller Moss going pro is that's
not happening
at this point,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So this is now they're both in a position to be the quarterback next year. And frankly, the likelihood, given where we are in college football today, one of those two guys is transferring. Okay, because I don't think either guy is going to just sit behind the other in 2025. So if you're Lincoln Riley, you've given Miller Moss now 10 starts. Give Maeva the last 3 starts, see what you have, see what you need to work on, and put together a regimen for 2025 to set you up for success. So that's really where this goes, because if you keep benching Maeva, even after a bye, I mean, if you're Maeva at this point, you're kind of like, why do I need to stay here? I mean, I was conference player of the year last year, and now I'm on the bench on a team that's basically a fringe bowl team. And the last thing I'll say is, guys, given the level of disconnect on this team and the lack of culture, the lack of connectivity and cohesiveness right now, look, Nebraska looks pretty lifeless themselves at this point, but I don't see this team winning either rivalry game, okay? Notre Dame is playing for a playoff spot right now. UCLA is playing for each other. They're going to treat that game like their Super Bowl, okay? This is a situation here where you could very easily see this team finish up 5-7 and miss a bowl game altogether.
He can't come back on that. You can't bring him back. You have to figure out that means he regressed worse than what he was last year. So that means if you go off of that trend, just think about it. If you go off the trend he's going on, the first year he won 10 games. Last year he won 7 games. This year he's looking at winning 5 games. So that means next year he's going to win 3 games. It's going to get worse. And the 4th year, he's going to go 0-12. And year 5, you can't even go negative. So we're just a completely bad program. Thanks for joining us, Jay. Jay had a run after 25 minutes. But there's something, Jamal, I wanted to show you something. I don't know if you saw it last night. And it's putting players in the position possible. And I just want to show you this because Coach Lynn has some issues last night, man. And I gotta bring up the board for you, Jamal. I gotta bring it up for you. So this was a play last night on a crucial 4th down. And I've been talking about the defense and the scheme isn't very good and those types of things. Oh, Jay's back. Let's pop Jay in here. Jay, I'm gonna talk about the scheme for you. I don't know if you guys remember this play, but this is on a crucial 3rd down. Right?
Yep.
So this is a tight end. All these guys are eligible, right? You see how they got a guy here, they got a guy here. Why do they have this? This is the issue that I have. This makes no sense, right? So the common thing it's called stab and deuce, right? You can slide that guy over. You can slide this guy. You can slide this guy over right here. And you can take this guy and you can slide him over. So what stab and deuce does, now that this guy is right here, this guy takes anything that comes across the middle. This guy takes anything that's vertical. This guy takes anything that's in the flat. You stab and deuce it, right? Then once you stab and deuce it, here's the result of the play. Wide open. Nobody right there in that flat. There's position, and a lot of people, I'm too hard on the defense and this and that. I'm telling you guys what I see. It's wide open. You could have had a guy right here. That was a crucial play. I will say this though. What do you say you take it? You gotta, when you have a negative, you gotta have a positive. I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing my screen real quick. Hold on. When you have a negative, you have to have a positive. We needed a stop last night on defense, and we got the stop last night on defense. And that's when we gave the ball back to Miller Moss. But in the first half, there was also a time where they ran old school smash and they had Mason Cobb covering nothing. And then now we're reeling and we're trying to get back in, right? So, like, it's putting players in the best position possible. We know we're not putting the offense in the best position possible. There's times when we're not putting the defense in the best position possible, and we're expecting things, and all of a sudden it's transfer portal time, and these dudes are making a mass exodus to the portal, and then all of a sudden we're sitting up here figuring out why. Here's why. Here's what you're putting on film. Here's what you're putting on the field. These players aren't going to be happy winning 5 games, especially with the expectations. Like, we can no longer blame the players. At this point, and I know we're singing the same tune, but, like, it's getting worse and worse each week. He has not won a game on the road since when? When's the last time he won a game on the road? Last year, Cal.
Coach, and you know, to that point, I'll just chime in for 30 seconds there. You know, as historians of USC now has lost 5 consecutive road games for the first time ever 5 consecutive road games. So, you know, this is it's become a culture of softness where you can't go on the road, you can't win, and you sort of wilt down the stretch. And this is now, again, you know, for all the patterns that we've seen without change, you know, it's a pattern with Lynn too. You know, right now he's kind of getting a reprieve because it's all the conversations about, you know, Lincoln and Miller. But this is now 5 games, Coach, over the last 2 years, 3 times at SC this year, twice at UCLA last year, where he has lost to a 230-pound running back, you know, when you have pounded the ball and his front has wilted. And so he has to sort of look and see from a scheme standpoint. He relied so heavily on Latu last year, being able to get pressure from any which direction that he was able to disguise and look like he was +1 in all situations. Without that queen chessboard, that queen piece on the chessboard this year, it's looking exposed. So until you sort of get that single kind of difference maker from a pass rush perspective, you know, you're going to be seeing more of this, because the whole principle of this, guys, is to be able to do more with less on the front end of the defense so you can do less with more on the back end of the defense. That's really the Lynn philosophy moving forward. And kind of disheartening that the Washington offensive line, that has so many have described as patchwork this year in sort of year 1 of the Fish era, no sacks last night, 2 tackles for loss from the interior front 7. So I don't know where you sort of hang your hat here. That's what is so frustrating and perplexing. Where do you go from here? You know, we talked about year 1 is a total rebuild, because look what Helton left us in 2021. Then year 2 was a total rebuild because look, you know, we sort of didn't, let go of Grinch. And so year 2 is really the year 1. Now we're like year 3 is the real rebuild because, you know, we're getting our culture. I mean, at what point do we even start the rebuild?
Yeah.
We're at a position where we're not even starting the rebuild. We're talking about, this is sort of like a math equation where it's like T equals -3. When is T going to be equal to 0? When do we actually start the rebuild?
Yeah,
I mean, it's unbelievable with some of the logic that's going on, you know?
Hey, Jay, I know you got to get out of here. You got to go drop 40 on the church league. Good. Before you get out of here.
Hey, I'm going to take my frustrating on them, man. I'm going to go down to the post. I'm going to dunk on somebody. But look, man, check it out. Here's the thing, and I agree with what you guys are saying, but to defend Lynn somewhat, when you look at what Washington did in the second half, I think we held them to 6 points, and that alone to me speaks to, you know, he's maximizing with the most that he has. I mean, he's doing the most that what he has. We lost multiple guys on defense. Of course, Anthony Lucas. Of course, look, contrary to what some people were saying, Bear Alexander. You know, I went back and looked at that Michigan game. Yes, it was that one play, but then when you looked at some of the other pressures that he has, he was making an impact and getting in the backfield. He just wasn't making any sacks. But when you count all those things and couple all those things with some of the other guys that we have, look, USC right now is extremely thin. You know, some of the freshmen that we were hoping, like a Carlon Jones, a big body, and some of the other guys, they just don't have the depth. Now, Coach, you asked me about what do we need to do to get some of these players, and I think you know, we talked about in the offseason about getting some of these major guys, whether it's Derek Harmon. We see with Derek Harmon, he's absolutely wrecking shop right now at Oregon. And, you know, whether we could put this on the NIL or we could put this on Lincoln for stopping the NIL, whatever the case is. Look, we had an opportunity. He came in, brought him, hosted him. But at the end of the day, look, some say, we don't need to bid on these guys. Like right now, it looks like we need to bid on these guys
Yeah.
because we are absolutely lost in the swing somersaults, and it makes no sense, because at the end of the day, you gotta have big guys to push these guys back. And if we don't have that, if we don't pay for them, and I was one of the guys that say, look, maybe we don't, but you know what? I changed my mind because right now we just don't have the guys, and so I think USC is gonna have to look themselves in the mirror from a NIL perspective, from a culture perspective, and another thing. How do you think Coach Henderson how he feels? He's a winning guy. Matt Ince, he's a winning guy. Deanton Lynn, all these guys are winning guys with winning cultures. Now they come over here. You got to give them what they need, because it's not fair. I still don't believe that the best. That I still believe that we have the best coaching staff when you look at it assembled together on the defensive side. But if you give them the right pieces, Oregon, do you realize the roster that they have right now? I mean, you look at what they put on the product that they put on the field against Michigan. I mean, they just outclassed Michigan on every level. You can't tell me that coach is a better coach than some of the coaches that we have. I just don't believe that. But they have the product on the field. They have 5 defensive transfers that were starters, and they were the big time guys on other teams. And look, we have to do the same thing. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys with that. That's pretty much what I got
Yeah.
as it relates to that.
Jay,
I
always a
appreciate you, Jay.
pleasure. It's so great to have the conversation with you. Go tear it up today. Coach is saying 40-point in the post. No, Jay, no. I want a 45-by-5 from you, okay? I want you to be with me out there. You got to give me a 45-by-5.
All right, man. You guys stay blessed. Appreciate you, Jamal and Coach.
Thanks
Stay
so much,
blessed, man.
Jay.
Take care. All right.
So I'm talk about what Jay said, and then I'm going to we got some callers in here. I'm gonna talk about what Jay said. It's baffling to me that if somebody here's a good example. Say Woody Marks goes down, right? And we talked about this a little bit. Say Woody Marks goes down, right? We're not panicked. We got Quentin Joyner. You know what I'm saying? Say one of the receivers go down. We're not panicked. We got enough receivers. Well, how come when one of the D linemen goes down, it becomes a panic? How come when one of the linebackers goes down, it becomes a panic? You're telling me that out of the 85 scholarships that you have, majority of the scholarships are offensive scholarships? You gave no thought to the defense at all? That's not coaching. Coaching is building a team together. I'll give you a great example. Washington's defense is great. They're not great, but they were great. They're in the top 5 and top 3 in certain things, right?
Yep.
They had a bad night last night. They gave up 3 third down conversions, but that's okay. Things happen. But Washington's defense, Jed Fish is an offensive guy. Jed Fish calls offense. But you know what Jed Fish is doing right now? He's building a team. You know in 2 years how good Washington is going to be, and we've seen it with Arizona. He's building a team. Why is Lincoln not building a team? You know what I mean? Like he's only building his offense, but he's not building a team, if that makes sense. And I think that's where that hurt us. We got a super chat, Jamal. We're getting lucky today. We can't lose these recruits, especially Juju, or we'll lose the entire 100%, Christian. 100% agree with you. You got anything to say on that?
Yeah, no, Coach. I mean, I think you said it best. And that's the question. That's why, I think, Lynn, there's some schematic things to both our points of where the criticism is. But I agree with Jay as well that you got to have the horses to go along with this. And, Coach, it's one of the things why, if we go back to the offseason, when we lost a bunch of those Georgia kids, that's why I was like, look, this is a big deal. This, it's not, you can't just sort of rinse and repeat. You need to be able to have that depth. Now, some of it has been really unfortunate with injuries. But some of these guys, Coach, it just, for whatever reason, it's not gelling. Because at the end of the day, you put, a group out there. Some of them were transfers. It wasn't necessarily the most top-end talent. You brought in Clifton from Vanderbilt. You brought in Meyer from Wyoming. You wanted to see the Abasaris and the Fountains develop. Green has kind of been a diamond in the rough. You were expecting Lucas, who, by the way, is a 5-star recruit, to really kind of see his potential. But then you've also got guys like, Jamil Muhammad feels like he's regressed this year. And other guys just feel like kind of schematically they're a little bit lost, or confidence-wise they're a little bit lost. So, it's been a combination of injuries. It's been a combination of maybe relying on some guys to have certain years that you haven't. But I completely agree with you. Holistically, there is a lack of depth in both trenches right now, frankly. of the quality that you need to be able to compete in the Big Ten. And next year, again, when you look at this, Kobe, Pep, Clifton, when you talk about Meyer, you talk about Jameel, all these guys on the front, coach, they're out of eligibility. So you have to look at it from an inputs and output standpoint. We're focused on who all is coming in, but we're losing a lot too. So you have to always look at that delta of what's coming in versus what's coming out. And then that's how you assess how much you're getting better, which is why next year, hopefully we have better players in the trenches potentially, even though I think we've got a decent enough group here this year. But the depth is going to be at least until 26 if you can kind of keep the train moving. And to sort of the viewer's point, Christian, great comment. Now, this whole notion of Juju sort of heats up even more, coach. He took the visit to Colorado. He's taking the visit to Indiana. He's going to be watching how Lincoln handles this situation, because he's going to say, if Miller Moss finishes this year and you put Maeva on the bench, what shot do I have now to even compete year one? Whereas I could go with Prime and compete year one at Colorado and probably get the starting job. Or I could go with Signetti and his dynamite quarterback coach and go be the starter at Indiana and get the reps. Because, coach, at this stage, it's about the reps. After a few weeks, the idea of sitting for a whole year in college football, it has to be so worth it, where you have total trust in what you're getting on the other side of it, that it's a significant risk reward. So Juju Lewis is going to be watching this very closely. Carday Smith is going to be watching this very closely, and they're the dominoes. If they feel like this is not the right thing, you will see guys flipping. Look, I mean, this is still 5-6 weeks until National Signing Day, National Letter of Intent Day. 6 weeks for a teenager. I mean, that's like dog years. There's 10 years from now until National Signing Day. A lot can happen. So the recruiting classes, and right now we're sitting at 11th roughly, depending on the recruiting agencies in 25. But if you lose Juju Lewis and you lose Carday Smith, that class from 11 now, you're talking about 17, 18, 19. And if you lose anyone more, you're talking about recruiting class outside of the top 20. So it's just common sense. If you take, let's just say, a 7-6 football team, let's just call it a 7-6 record this year, just for the sake of argument, and you add the 20th best recruiting class to a 7-6 football team that's also pretty senior laden in some key positions, how much more talent are you going to have next year, realistically, that can contribute for you right away? Not that much. It's sort of, again, kind of an incremental game.
Yeah. I will say this: if you are a good coach and you're able to develop guys, Dan Mullen, Mississippi State, 20th recruiting class, top 5 team in the nation. You know what I mean? Like, that is possible to do, but we don't have a developmental program, and that's proven. So that doesn't work. Let's take some calls, my man. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well.
Thanks so much for joining.
I just drew something up for you, Brian. I hope you saw it. So don't get mad at me today about that DeAnton Lynn. I told you to
I saw it. I saw it. However, I still stand firm on it. The defense has been serviceable, and we made plays, to keep us in the game. I say this: the defense had, and we were in the game last night. The defense got to stop when they needed to make the stop.
They did.
But it's like I told you a couple of weeks ago, Coach, and I've been calling for this since the Minnesota loss. We've been trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Raleigh has never averaged under 40. Well, I say under 39 points a game. He's never averaged that. He could have solved this entire thing, by making one substitution, putting in Maeva. Again, I was told, by certain people, hey, look, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, Miller Moss is not it. He's been overthrowing 6'6" receivers. You and I discussed this a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the Penn State loss, when I said he overthrew Deuce. He's been throwing balls behind receivers. Listen, I understand, Miller Moss stuck with the program. He's been a Trojan since he was a little kid, but at some point, we're worried about the recruiting class. We got to keep the guys that are there now. The 2 silver liners that's been in this program, that's been attached to this program over this past season, has been 2 people, DeAnton Lynn and Woody Marks. Riley has done Woody Marks a disservice. He should be in the Heisman conversation right now. All he had to do was run the kid.
Yeah.
That's all he had to do was run Woody Marks. Woody Marks has been the best running back SC has had. I would say the most complete running back that SC has had since Buck Allen. I said it on USCJ show last night. And I'm not taking anything away from Rojo, but Rojo couldn't catch the ball when he first got there, and he definitely couldn't pass block. Woody Marks can do everything, man. If you just give him the ball, hell, he was open on that fourth down play in the flat where Miller Moss got sacked.
Right.
And we can't put it on the offensive line, even though what's his name? Mason Murphy had a couple false starts. We still took the lead, even with those false starts. We still was on the goal line. If you bring in Maava on that 4th and 1 at 6'4.5", 6'5", put him on the center and let him the quarterback sneak, we get into the end zone, we score. I don't know why for the life of me, Riley just intends on dying on his heel. He refused to play this kid. I don't know why. Why pay the kid to come over here if you're not going to play him? That makes no sense to me.
Well,
whatsoever.
Here's the thing. Like, a lot of people did say that. They say, let's go quarterback sneak. But you also have to think about this. How often do they take a snap up under center? You know what I mean? Now, I will say this. They didn't run RPO because they blocked everybody up. They blocked the edge, so Miller Moss wasn't reading anybody. It was a 100% give. If we have Maava in that situation, now it becomes a true RPO, and you're going to start to read. You either pass it or we have the ability to run it. We did not have the ability to run it on that goal line. We knew that the ball was going to Woody Marks. And we can't get upset at the line because they made their check and the dude walked up late. The youngster missed it. I guarantee you next year, Noah doesn't miss that block. It's just a young mistake by a sophomore.
By the guard, right? Alani Noah.
Yeah, it's a young mistake, and those are growing pains. I will take those growing. Put it like this: if this was our first loss on the road and we played better the whole time, and we lose in that situation because a sophomore made a mistake and he only played 3 games last year, this is his first full season, and that happens, I'll take that. Like, you know what? These are the growing pains that we have to deal with. And that's the growing pains that we have to live with. And I'm 100% good with it. He's going to get better. We know that Noah kid's going to get good. That Noah kid actually has been improving if you actually look at all those numbers that he has. He made a mistake. That's fine. But the issue is everybody knew it was going to be run. Well, Maava, the question would have been, who's getting the ball? Is Maava keeping it, or is Woody going to get the ball? So, I mean, that's where we got handcuffed. And right now we're handcuffed with Miller Moss because we know that he's not going to run the ball in that situation.
Well, in a situation like that, though, because we don't have Riley's typical quarterback that he uses to run his offense, he's had to change the entire offensive play calling to suit Moss, which means that he's had to change the protection. The offensive line has done good the last 4 weeks. The issue is not the O-line. The issue is we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Moss is not the quarterback. We have a manageable schedule next year. Actually, the only 2 difficult games I see next season is Oregon on the road and Notre Dame on the road. But we got to get Maava in the games now. 100%. Don't wait. We've given Moss 9 games to show what he can do. We've given him that. Man?
Yeah, no, I think Brian, it's a really good point. Again, it's if you're gonna stay with Moss in that situation, it's got to be a different play call, right? Like, so that's the thing. You either got to change the personnel in those situations, or you got to change the play call. But you can't go with that personnel in terms of that play call. And I agree with you. I think the defense has played well at times. I think the offensive line has played well at times. But I think, Brian, this is a team that just is lacking consistency at all positions this year. This is just a wildly inconsistent team. It's a mediocre team that's just wildly inconsistent. You know, that we're sort of honing in on the 4th and goal from the 1, rightfully so, but it was 1st and goal from the 4. Like, I mean, if you truly got a great offensive line, you could get 4 yards in 4 plays and punch it in, right? So clearly the offensive line isn't good enough in those moments to be able to do that. Now, obviously, the 4th and goal, it sort of blew up on that one play, but you don't have the physicality when it's 1st and goal from the 4, and then you don't have the precision when it's 1st and 10 from the 20 with 30 seconds to go when you need the touchdown. So if you don't have precision and you don't have physicality and it comes and goes in spots, how can you sort of be a credible team over the course of the season? So completely agree with you. And you have to sort of play Maeva now. Again, I'm not sure Maeva is the savior and the answer. I agree with you. He is very much in the mold of the Kylers and the Bakers and the Hertzes in terms of being dual threat. So on the surface, I think Miller has kind of his archetype to be able to work with moving forward. And you sort of develop kind of the ability to read his progressions to sort of become a more refined passer. But you got to see it on the field to be able to make that assessment. If you go the last 3 games here and just play Miller without even giving Maeva a look, I mean, what is that going to tell, to your point, Brian, these recruits? What's that going to tell Julian Lewis? What's that going to tell these recruits that, if I don't make it right away, this coaching staff is just such a fixed mindset that they're not even open to adjustments. So do I want to sort of invest a whole year or 2 in a program where, hey, if it doesn't work out those first couple of weeks during mini camp, during spring practice, I'm just on the bench for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. That's the message. So in many ways, how Lincoln handles this bye week is going to be absolutely critical to the success of 2025, to your point, Brian, because it is a very favorable schedule in 25. But given that it's a favorable schedule, the margin for error is a lot less. Next year, if they lose 2 games, if they lose those 2 games, there's no shot at the playoff because they're going to have nothing else on the resume. So you have an easier schedule, but less margin for error, which is why you need the preparation to start now, to your point.
Yeah, Brian, I appreciate you. Let me get to these other calls, man.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, guy.
We got a fan favorite. We got LV Live. What's up, brother? How you doing? LV Live, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Fight on for the East Coast. How do I sound?
You sound
great, man. You sound like a DJ. I mean, it's great. Late night DJ. My God, where's the Vegas Lounge right now?
Absolutely. Well, we're out in NYC, man. So we have a lot of those coaching madmen. So, hey, man, great show.
New York is a great place for LA right now.
Absolutely.
If you play baseball.
Yes, we understand that. Enjoy it now. I think you guys have how many now? 8 to our 27.
Oh, he had to go there. He had to play the historical card.
There you go. There you go.
You guys didn't see. I helped him out last night, man, on his show. Big shouts to him and those guys over there. They do great work. And I was on his show last night. We did 3 hours.
On whose show?
Tim Pringley's.
Yeah. Tim had a show last night. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was his co-host last night, so I hopped on with him for 3 hours. So it was a great show. During that show, I kind of made some reference into like my Maeva piece, and I didn't really agree with kind of I felt like just the rumors that were out there was that Maeva wasn't ready, right? But we watched the game this morning, Coach. I mean, me and you spoke, Coach. I'm a former player too, so I rewatched the game, and now my whole stance is changing about a lot of different things because I've really broken down just everything that's happened since LSU. Lincoln Riley has made 2 big mistakes here, and if you guys pay attention, last year not switching up with the Grinch, that was a huge mistake, and then whiffing on the quarterback that he wanted. Remember, he wanted Will Howard. He went out to Kansas State to go get him. That didn't happen. There were reports that they were in talks with Cam Ward. That didn't happen. They got outbid. He went to Miami. Or he was saying he was going to go to the draft, and then he wound up going to Miami. Then he had DJ Lagway on campus, who also was interested in coming to USC. They whiffed on that. He went to Florida. So Lincoln knew that Miller wasn't the guy, right? Just like he knew about Grinch. So now you have to take a look at these are just decisions that he's made. Because as much as I like Miller, he does not fit what Lincoln loves to do. All of his quarterbacks have pretty much been the same. Miller does not fit that. And then also, too, Miller's not his guy. He didn't recruit Miller. He didn't, so all these things matter. So I'm not surprised that you're seeing the domino effects. You're seeing the kid struggle the way he's struggling. So to your point, why continue to throw the ball 50 times? You know he's limited. And he's continuing to make the same mistake every week. And I didn't want to really beat down on him because I know he's a college kid, man. You try to do the best you can with these kids.
Absolutely.
And it was hard for me on the show. I didn't really want to put it so much on his shoulders, man. But
that's the hardest part.
Absolutely.
That's tough. That's tough because I'm trying to be mindful of that because I was also a college kid. I played. And I know it's tough. But in football, unlike any other sport, man, It's the head coach and the quarterback. That is it. You come and go as that. And when you win, it's the quarterback. When you lose, it's the quarterback and the head coach. I mean, that's what it is. Cody Kessler said it best, man. Listen, he's a SC quarterback, and he even spoke about it. If you guys listen to his show,
right?
And Miller has just made, I mean, back-breaking picks. Like, so imagine if, let's flip it, guys. Imagine if Cam Ward is running this offense. Imagine if Will Howard is here. Imagine if we have DJ Lagway. I think our record is way better than this, and we want to get on the offensive line. We knew it was like going to be a shuffle. It was going to be tough, but they've been playing well. They haven't been atrocious.
Totally agree.
Guys, he had a clean pocket last night, and those times he ran out of the clean pocket. I said, man, and so that's where, to you guys' point, Lincoln's going to have to make a decision here. Because guys are watching, kids are watching, like you guys stated, and they want to see. And then the locker room, all that stuff matters. You know, there's whispers. You know, there's guys saying we had a chance to win the game. This guy's throwing a pick. I mean, these are things that guys are saying. And so this is where Lincoln has to really make an adjustment, because for the first time ever in his career, guys, he's playing with a quarterback that's not quote unquote a superstar and has those skill sets. So now we got to see, what does he do in this moment? What say you guys?
Yeah. So here's the deal. And everybody was saying, well, Lincoln Riley's going to NFL. Lincoln Riley's going to NFL. You got an NFL you got a quarterback with an NFL skill set, right? A pocket guy who's not going to run much, who's looking for the next progression and sitting in and you can't call an offense for that guy. The NFL might not be for you, Lincoln. The college game might be for you. And it's okay. Look at Chip Kelly. Didn't work out for Chip Kelly. Now Chip Kelly is in Ohio State doing his next thing, looking for his next head coaching gig in the college level. And that's fine and that's okay. But there's two things that was proven here. There's the one thing was that Lincoln Riley is not ready for the NFL. The second thing that was proven is that we're starting to see that Lincoln Riley probably can't build a program at all, and he might be a coordinator guy. And the bad part is there's no more coaching rehab. Nick Saban's gone. There's nowhere for you to go. Everybody who comes out of coaching rehab has had some success. Where does he go, right? And so I think, man, it's just so hard. And he's in a very bad spot. And like Jamal said, like he's regressed. So if we look at it, like next year we're looking at a 3-win season. After that, we're looking at a no-win season, and we're just going to be, the UMass of the West Coast. You got anything on that, Jamal?
Yeah, no, LV, such great comments there, and I think we're all as a fan base, as a community, in agreement where we've got a round ball in a square peg. So you got two choices: you got to change the ball or you change the peg, right? We're all focused on changing the ball, like. Okay, if Lincoln gets his court, and I completely agree with you on the Howard, the Ward, the Lagway points, all those guys were in that situation. And in a lot of ways, the Holiday Bowl was almost the worst thing that could have happened long term, right? Because his performance was so emphatic in the Holiday Bowl that even when you were sort of on the fringe, because you got to understand, SC sort of a top 15 NIL program. It's not Oregon, it's not Ohio State. So you're always going to be more cautious than those teams. Now, if Miller Moss came in and threw 3 picks against the Holiday Bowl in the Holiday Bowl, now the willingness to pay for a Ward, for a Howard, for a Lagway becomes a lot higher. But the fact that he balled out the 6 touchdowns, Holiday Bowl MVP, everyone's kind of like, he might not be the perfect answer, but he's certainly good enough, with this $10 million a year coach to be able to do it. I promise you that was sort of the NIL kind of thinking in saying, hey, if we're close at quarterback, then let's go spend the money elsewhere, i.e. Bear Alexander and some other players. But the question here on the other side is, why can't Lincoln Riley design an offense for his personnel? The truly
100%.
Great coaches, this is what separates good coaches from great coaches. The good coaches say, I have a singular system and my players need to adopt my system. And if you can't adopt my system, it's not going to work, or I'm going to have to make a change, or you're going to have to leave. The truly great coaches, can take any group of players and adopt a system to them to be competitive. I mean, just case in point, look at last year with Saban. That was probably his worst Alabama team. Milroe was so raw. He had him in the playoff. He had him in the overtime of the semifinal, 1 or 2 plays away from the national championship game appearance. So the question here is, why couldn't Lincoln, given how offensively minded he is, how gifted he is offensively, when you look at Miller Moss and you look at Miller Moss's skill set, it actually looks a lot similar to J.J. McCarthy last year. Why can't you sort of run a system that is more run heavy this particular year and adopt to Miller Moss's skill set, given the fact that you sort of struck out for reasons that may have been out of your control on some of those prospects. So that's really where the concern comes in. His stubbornness, his ego, his sort of insistence to sort of run the same offense that he ran at OU and the same offense that he ran with Caleb with different personnel. That just shows a lack of maturity. That just shows sort of a lack of vision, in my opinion, that is not worthy of a $10 million a year coach.
Yeah. Hey, LV Live, I appreciate you. Thank you for the
Thanks so much,
questions.
LV.
Christian, how's it going, man? Good morning. What's going on? What do you got for us?
Man, just a couple of quick things, and I'll get to my main point so you can get to other people. One, I think we need to stop harping on how much points Riley usually average. For one,
Correct.
For one, he's playing much better defenses week in, week out. We play, I don't know how many top 5 defenses, right, in the category. So that has a lot to do with it. This is not the Big 12 no more, where it's only Oklahoma, Texas. This is not the Pac-12, where everybody's in a shootout. Like, we're actually playing defenses week in, week out. So the expectation of 40 points every week, I think, is unrealistic, especially with rule changes and the clock stopping, the rule changes and things like that. Also,
That's a good point, Christian. I don't mean to cut you off. That's a good point. The clock runs now. The clock runs until it gets to the
less opportunities.
The 2-minute timeout. And in this conference, if you look at points per possession, the Big Ten has the lowest point per possession than all the other conferences because of the run heavy things, right? It takes them average 5 to 6 minutes to score a touchdown, compared to the Big 12 probably takes 2 to 3 minutes, and SEC takes 2 to 3 minutes, and the Pac-2 and all those other guys. So that's a very good point. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to address on that.
And I'm not a get rid of Riley today guy. I'm giving him another year. So let's just say that I am saying we need to play Maeva now to see what we got, so we don't lose him. But what I need to see and what I would like to see as a main focus is in the portal is getting an edge rusher, a legit edge rusher, a field goal kicker. Our field goal kicker has missed entirely too many field goals this year. That is. But here, and the third thing is, and this is all on coaching. I'm not bashing him or anything. I'm not saying get rid of him this year. But the biggest issue I see with this team from week in and week out, and I've been saying it, is that it's up to the head coach to get the team to play complementary football. And we don't do that. In order to be successful, you got to have 2 out of the 3. Offense, defense, and special team has to be good. And at no point in the game do we have 2 that's good. The defense would come out and get 3 stops at the beginning of the game, offense stall out. Offensive score, defense would give up a 90-yard possession touchdown right then and there. Our punter, he's amazing. He kicks the ball within the 10-yard line. We don't play complementary football. Defense gives up 2 80-yard drives to Penn State after being pinned down. Defense gives us a turnover. Offense turns the ball right back over. And when you don't play complementary football, it's hard to win any game. And at no point of this season have we played complementary football, and that is the biggest issue at this team, is that we cannot get at least 2 out of the 3 to play well at the same time.
Yeah, Kristen, so well said there, and it sort of speaks to that earlier point of just a lack of consistency with this team, and that's, I think, what you're sort of alluding to is when things are going well on one side of the ball, they're not on the other. It just never seems completely uniform. And I think you made a phenomenal point there about the historical statistics of the Lincoln Riley offenses, and Coach, you addressed this, but I just want to double click because I think it was a terrific point, Kristen. The analogy is when you're comparing like NBA eras, like the NBA era of today versus the 90s and the 2000s, and you're comparing points per game today versus like Jordan when he was going up against the Pistons in the 90s and the 2000s. It's a totally different. Points per possession is completely different. Pace of play is completely different. So to your point, the Big 12 And the Pac-12 in many ways is the NBA of today, and the Big Ten is actually the NBA of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So those statistics go completely out the window. So just excellent points all around, and agree with you. Again, that point about the pass rush, the edge rusher, it's the edge rusher, the singular edge rusher that can get pressure at will, is that piece that Lynn needs to be able to create all of the confusion and the disguise moving forward. So great points all around, Kristen. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Christian.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great one.
You too. Oh, boy.
Thrill!
Look who's here.
It's the thrill. Will the thrill Decker, everybody. We got
What
a man
up,
across.
y'all?
And hey, first of all, I'm glad I have both of you guys together because I actually put some positive comments in your chat yesterday, and y'all act like y'all didn't even see them. So I don't appreciate that. I said
No, we love it, man.
I said the Bruins are rolling right now, and y'all get to you in a minute. Turn your camera off for me though before I play you on. I said the Bruins are rolling right now, and it looks like the Victory Bell game is going to shape up. You guys just ignored over that. I put UCLA, and I was like, dang, I didn't even recognize.
This is quite the moment. Love. You know, this is LAF. The LAFB UCLA show meets the LAFB USC show. The two hosts here, my goodness, it's the clash of the Titans.
Thrill.
I feel like this is like a wrestling music when I come in. It's like it's Stone Cold's music, and I'm just walking in, for this. But
I definitely heard the glass shatter when you popped in there. I was like, there it is. What's up, Thrill? What do you got for? If you guys don't know, this is Thrill. He works with the other network on our network. He works for the other school.
The other team, yeah.
But this is my guy. I love him to death, man. This is my dude. You guys will see us later. 3 weeks on the Victory Bell show. We'll do our show together. Man. Yep. What do you got for us, Thrill?
We're getting excited for that game, man. I think UCLA is kind of turning the tide a little bit. The Nebraska win on the road, I mean, that was huge. But I'm going to be very frank with you, Ro. As a member of LA Football Network, I want USC to be, really good. And I just want them to lose one game every single year, and it's the UCLA, the team across town. What is going on?
The feelings are mutual. The feelings are mutual. Thrill.
Madman and I will be texting, after, because UCLA, for some reason, plays their games traditionally in the morning compared to where USC is playing them. And I've gotten like 3 or 4 text messages over the past week where it's like SC lost, like ... SC lost again. And then I actually checked the score last night, had to hit up Madman with a text. I just need a synopsis on what's going on with USC. I watched the game last night. Bruner, that linebacker for Washington, the 2 interceptions he made. I mean, those are just kind of hit or miss plays because how many linebackers have the range that kid does? You know what I mean? 2 picks in there. I thought Max Brown really made an awesome point. Former USC quarterback. He had this long tweet. I'll try to read it. In hindsight, the 2022 season was the worst thing for USC. Gave the program the illusion the right foundation was being built in year one. When you have a superstar quarterback come in with Caleb Williams, it fixes so many problems, you guys have. But I was listening a little earlier, Ro, the body language synopsis on this team, I completely get. I saw the first interception. I saw a couple other scenarios with that. So just a lot going on. But how do we get USC back, man? Because I need them to be good up until USC because I want to upset them like we always do in this rivalry. I don't want them to be, arguably just as good as we are this year. I want them to, suffer when they play at the Rose Bowl this year, Coach Rowe.
So how do we fix it? You want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
Raise between $90 and $75 million and go get Barry Odom from UNLV. That's the only way to fix it. It's and I spoke about this last year, and then I fell for it, and I got excited about this year. We beat LSU, and then we keep moving forward, and then all of a sudden, we're back to where we are before, right? And the main thing it is, and this is my opinion, my professional opinion, like I said last night on Jay's show, because I got paid to do it, and I got pensions from universities. So this is my professional opinion. Lincoln Riley is not a program builder, and he does not know how to establish cultures within teams, right? The number one thing you have to deal with when you're coaching a football team and building a program and when you're playing football and doing everything you have to do is how do you deal with adversity? You put together this whole game plan, and this whole game plan looks good against the scout team, and then all of a sudden, the old Mike Tyson saying, you get punched in the mouth. What are you going to do now? And you constantly see every time you get punched in the mouth, they fold. Every time the game is on the line and you need something big, they fold. It's a culture problem. Jamal says it all the time. They're soft. The things have changed. I watch UCLA games and UCLA players are talking shit. I'm like, who are UCLA players talking shit? Like, that's UCLA.
Reinforcement-like conduct.
You know what I mean? Like, it's changed. You don't see that out of USC players. You don't see UCLA players walking right now with the same swagger that you saw 15 years ago. They don't walk like they are the guys. And it's just a culture thing. Like, the culture is so bad at USC right now. There's little things that matter to me that people don't notice. Zachariah Bench had spat on last night. I saw 3 other players with spat on last night. USC players aren't supposed to spat. They don't wear the white socks anymore. They don't have the white shoelaces. When you go to a home game, when it's 3rd down, they don't ring the bell and the whole crowd gets fired up. They got this trash DJ from who knows where that's playing music during the game, and you're only supposed to use the effectiveness of the crowd noise in the Coliseum to help you win games. Being at an SC game alone itself is enough entertainment. There's a lot of things that are happening that matter to me as a player and a traditionalist that people don't see, and those little things matter for culture. The whole thing about USC, there's a reason why there's an interlock USC at the V of their jersey. The name on the front of the jersey matters than the name on the back of the jersey. That's why you don't get a name. That's why you don't spat. That's why you wear white shoelaces. It's a team thing, and those things still matter. And I understand things are changing now. And I understand things are different. But at the end of the day, the New York Yankees, you still aren't allowed to have beards. You have to be clean cut. You're getting mustaches now. They were just in the World Series. And guess what? They'll be back, right? Those things matter. The Dodger culture. Look at the Dodgers. Perfect example. Look at the Dodgers. They legit said when they brought that team, they did not want to change the culture. They wanted to get the bad out from them. What's the name of that guy that ruined it? It's not McCourt. McCourt brought him to L.A. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh, he ruined it. Yeah, Frank McCourt.
Oh, it was Frank McCourt.
It was McCourt. Yeah.
They wanted to get all the bad out from McCourt, but they wanted to keep that Dodger culture. And the Dodgers have not been a bad team. They've been on the brink the whole time. And we finally bust through and they finally got it done. They have yet at SC to figure out the culture. And I can honestly say it's not Lincoln Riley's fault with the culture. It goes back to the AD before Bond. And that's where the culture started to get destroyed. Pat Hayden destroyed the culture. Then you brought Bond in, and the culture never got fixed. Now you have Jim Cohen in, who I'm still willing to see because guess what? Jim Cohen has hired 2 national championship coaches. Not winning, but 2 guys who brought their teams to the national championship and the national playoffs. So we can't go out on her. But the culture is so bad right now at USC, and it all starts with culture no matter what. Look at Belichick, look at all the guys who are successful. It all starts with culture and it all starts with understanding. So that's what I think is wrong. What do you think, man?
Yeah, no, Thrill. I mean, it's a lack of identity at USC right now. They just don't know who they are. It's not the mid 2000s anymore. And it's a new day and age. And I think that lack of identity is translating into what are our resources? What are our expectations? And on the field, they are not adjusting their style of play to their personnel. There's a lot of talent in terms of this personnel, but both on the offensive as well as the defensive side of the ball, we have coaches that are sticking with a particular way of playing, not aligning with the talent that you actually have and meshing it in that way. So the off the field identity stuff, the on the field meshing of the talent, you put it together. And I think that Victory Bell game is going to be a bar fight, gentlemen. It's going to be a battle.
You want me to be honest with you about the Victory Bell game? I'll be 100% honest with you. I'll give it to you right here.
To us.
If they don't beat Nebraska, the Victory Bell game is going to be just like it was last year. The players are going to give up, and UCLA is going to run through us at the Rose Bowl. 100%. We're looking at the exact same thing that we're looking at last year. So, I mean, we have to beat Nebraska. We got to beat Pat Mahomes III when they come to the Coliseum. Other than that, it's going to be 2 in a row for UCLA.
Ro, you made some really good points. The program building aspect of Lincoln Riley. He just stepped in for Bob Stoops at Oklahoma. The foundation had been built. All the guys he won with, outside of, your Jalen Hurts and some of the other guys. Kyler Murray, I think, was already in the program by the time he inherited it. So it's just, you have Baker Mayfield, you have these types of guys, and it's the Big 12. We joked about the Big 12. As long as you got an offense, you're going to be really good in that conference, and they had an elite offense. They didn't have to give a damn about the defensive side of the football.
Yep.
So they never built the program up. You saw the defensive struggles carry over where I mean, we as UCLA fans, Jerry Azzinaro was like the guy we would pull our hair out about, where Chip held on to too long. And, Alex Grinch kept his job for like 2 years, like without, having ramifications for having one of the worst defenses around. You make the switch to Lynn. A lot of people think a little too late there. And, it's starting to go a little south with Lynn at this point, a guy that we knew very well at UCLA. So I don't know. And Ro, before I leave, I just want to leave you with this quote. You hit us with, I watch the show religiously. I support all LAFB content. You hit us with this saying that Oregon is the Dallas Cowboys of college football.
They are.
I don't know, man. I think you're looking at him right now, man.
Nah. Look, here I'll tell you why.
Here's my take. The mid-'90s is what all Cowboys fans are holding on to as their glory. Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin. Outside of that mid-2000s range of 2004, 5, and 6 for USC, what do they have to point to over the last 20 years, man? I'm being dead serious here. You kind of have similarities where it's, Aikman and, Emmitt Smith. You got Leinart, you got Bush there, a couple of Heismans. Outside of that mid-tier range, man, it feels like the Dallas Cowboys. The hype's always there. What did Lincoln call it when he accepted the job? The Mecca of college football. A lot of people refer to Dallas as kind of the biggest program around. We need to see it at some point. And, very similarly put, with Lincoln Riley this year, he needed to win this year because he's losing a lot of talent. Same with Deshaun Foster, right? It's not happening right now. So what are we talking about, Ro? Is that a fair comparison for me to say this could be the Dallas Cowboys of college football at the moment?
No, it's not. I'll tell you why. I will take the Raiders over the Dallas Cowboys because at least with the Raiders, you're going to get a disrespectful season. The Dallas Cowboys at one point was going through this whole thing where they were winning the NFC East and winning 12 to 14 games and then just getting bounced out of the playoffs. That's exactly what Oregon's going to do. They're going to get the first round bye and they're going to get bounced out of the playoffs. Or they might, not even that. They're going to be the Detroit Lions and get everybody all excited. We're in the national championship and then get just steamrolled by the national champion of that year. So they're the Dallas Cowboys of college football in that way. We'll take the Raiders. We're the Raiders because we're just bad right now. And we get all excited and we talk about Frank Tarkleton and Bo Jackson and all these people and we can't accomplish anything. So I'll take the Raiders over the Cowboys.
I like the take. I'm sticking with my Cowboys take as a UCLA guy. You guys have a good one. Had to tune in for this one.
Hey, thanks, Thrill. I appreciate you, man. That's Will the Thrill, you guys.
Lay the Thrill.
He's on the Bruin Bible. Go check him out on the